Namaste, Dandavat Pranam. By the instruction and grace of our spiritual master Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj, we are here reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Canto 4, Creation of the Fourth Order. Chapter 19, King Pṛthu's 100-horse sacrifice. Text 1. Maitreya Uvacha Athadik Chata Rajatu Hayam Medha Satena Sa Brahma Bharte Manokshetre Yatra Prachi Sarasvati. The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, King Pṛthu initiated the performance of 100-horse sacrifices at the spot where the river Saraswati flows towards the east. This piece of land is known as Brahmavarta, and it was controlled by Swayambhuva Manu. Text 2. Tad abhipretya bhagavan karmatisayam atmana satakrator namamrishe prator-yagya mahotsavam. When the most powerful Indra, the king of heaven, saw this, he considered the fact that King Pṛthu was going to exceed him in fruitive activities. Thus Indra could not tolerate the great sacrificial ceremonies performed by King Pṛthu. Purport. In the material world, everyone who comes to enjoy himself or lord it over material nature is envious of others. This envy is also found in the personality of the King of Heaven, Indra. As evident from revealed scriptures, Indra was several times envious of many persons. He was especially envious of great fruitive activities and of execution of yoga practices or siddhis. Indeed, he could not tolerate them and he desired to break them up. He was envious due to fear that those who performed great sacrifices for the execution of mystic yoga might occupy his seat. Since no one in this material world can tolerate another's advancement, everyone in the material world is called matsara, envious. In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is therefore said that Srimad Bhagavatam is meant for those who are completely near matsara, non-envious. In other words, one who is not free from the contamination of envy cannot advance in Krishna consciousness. In Krishna consciousness, however, if someone excels another person, the devotee who is excelled thinks how fortunate the other person is to be advancing in devotional service. Such non-envy is typical of Vaikuntha. However, when one is envious of his competitor, that is material. The demigods posted in the material world are not exempt from envy. Text 3. Yatra yagya pati sakshad bhagavan harir ishvara anbhabhuyat sarvatma sarvaloka guru prabhu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, is present in everyone's heart as the Supersoul, and he is the proprietor of all planets and the enjoyer of the results of all sacrifices. He was personally present at the sacrifices made by King Pṛthu. Purport. In this verse, the word Sakshat is significant. Pṛthu Maharaj was a Shaktivesh avatar incarnation of Lord Vishnu. Actually, Pṛthu Maharaj was a living entity, but he acquired specific powers from Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu, however, is directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus belongs to the category of Vishnu Tattva. Maharaj Pṛthu belongs to the Jiva Tattva. The Vishnu Tattva indicates God, whereas Jiva Tattva indicates the part and parcel of God. When God's part and parcel is especially empowered, he is called Shaktivesh Avatar. Lord Vishnu is herein described as Harir Ishvara. The Lord is so kind that he takes all miserable conditions away from his devotees. Consequently, he is called Hari. He is described as Ishvar because he can do whatever he likes. He is the supreme controller. The supreme Ishvara, Purushottam, is Lord Krishna. He exhibits his powers as Ishvar, or the supreme controller, When he assures his devotee in Bhagavad Gita 18.66, abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. He can immediately make his devotee immune from all reactions caused by sinful life if the devotee simply surrenders unto him. He is described herein as Sarvatma, meaning that he is present in everyone's heart as the Supersoul, and as much he is the supreme teacher of everyone. If we are fortunate enough to take lessons given by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, our lives immediately become successful. No one can give better instructions to human society than Lord Krishna. Dhanavad pranam Devi.
Hare Krishna, Dhanavad pranam Prabhuji.
Text 4. Anvito Brahma Sarvabhyam Lokapalai Sadhanugai Upagiyamano Gandhar Upagiyamano Gandharvar Munibis Chapsaroganai. When Lord Vishnu appeared in the sacrificial arena, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and all the chief predominating personalities of every planet, as well as their followers, came with him. When he appeared on the scene, the residents of Gandharva Loka, the great sages, and the residents of Apsara Loka all praised him. Text 5. Siddha Vidyadhara Daitya Dhanhava Guya Kadaya Sunanda Nanda Pramukha Parshada Pravara Hare. The Lord was accompanied by the residents of Siddhaloka and Vidyadhara Loka, all the descendants of Diti and the demons and the Yakshas. He was also accompanied by his chief associates headed by Sunanda and Nanda. Text 6. Kapilo Narado Dato Yogesha Sanakadaya Tam Anviyor Bhagavata Yecha Tat Seva Nochuka. Great devotees who were always engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as well as the great sages named Kapila, Narada, and Dattatreya, and masters of mystic powers headed by Sanaka Kumar, all attended the great sacrifice with Lord Vishnu. Text 7. Yatra Dharma Dugha Bhumi Sarva Kama Dugha Sati Dogdhisma Bispithan Artan Yajamanasya Bharata. My dear Vidura, in the great sacrifice, the entire land came to be like the milk-producing Kamadhenu, and thus by the performance of yajna, all daily necessities for life were supplied. Purport. In this verse, the word Dharma Dugha is significant, for it indicates Kamadhenu. Kamadhenu is also known as Surabhi. Surabhi cows inhabit the spiritual world, and as stated in Brahma Samhita, Lord Krishna is engaged in tending these cows. Surabhir abhipalayantam. Surabhir abhipalayantam. One can milk a Surabhi cow as often as one likes, and the cow will deliver as much milk as one requires. Milk, of course, is necessary for the production of so many milk products, especially clarified butter, which is required for the performance of great sacrifices. Unless we are prepared to perform the prescribed sacrifices, our supply of the necessities of life will be checked. Bhagavad Gita confirms that Lord Brahma created human society along with yajna, the performance of sacrifice. Yajna means Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and sacrifice means working for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this age, however, it is very difficult to find qualified brahmanas who can perform sacrifices as prescribed in the Vedas. Therefore, it is recommended in Srimad Bhagavatam, Yajyai Sankirtana Prayai, that by performing Sankirtana Yajna and by satisfying the Yajna Purusha, Lord Chaitanya, one can derive all the results from great sacrifices in the past. King Pṛthu and others derived all necessities of life from the earthly planet by performing great sacrifices. Now, this Sankirtan movement has already been started by the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. People should take advantage of this great sacrifice and join in the society's activities. Then there will be no scarcity. If Sankirtan Yajna is performed, there will be no difficulty, not even in industrial enterprises. Therefore, the system should be introduced in all spheres of life, social, political, industrial, commercial, etc. Then everything will run very peacefully and smoothly. Text 8. Uho sarvara sannadya chirhadadhyana ghorasan tarhavo bhuri varshmana prashuyanta madhuchuta. The flowing rivers supplied all kinds of tastes, sweet, pungent, sour, etc. And very big trees supplied fruit and honey in abundance. The cows, having eaten sufficient green grass, supplied profuse quantities of milk, curd, clarified butter, and similar other necessities. Purport. If rivers are not polluted and are allowed to flow in their own way, or sometimes allowed to flood the land will become very fertile and able to produce all kinds of vegetables, trees, and plants. The word rasa means taste. Actually, all rasas are tastes within the earth, and as soon as seeds are sown in the ground, various trees sprout up to satisfy our different tastes. For instance, sugarcane provides its juices to satisfy our taste for sweetness, and oranges provide their juices to satisfy for a mixture of the sour and the sweet. Similarly, there are pineapples and other fruits. At the same time, there are chilies to satisfy our taste for pungency. Although the earth's ground is the same, different tastes arise due to different kinds of seeds. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 7.10, Bijam mam sarva bhutanam. I am the original seed of all existences. Therefore, all arrangements are there, and as stated in Ishopanishad, Purnamidam, complete arrangements for the production of all the necessities of life are made by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. People should therefore learn how to satisfy the Yajna Purusha, Lord Vishnu. Indeed, the living entity's prime business is to satisfy the Lord, because the living entity is part and parcel of the Lord. Thus, the whole system is so arranged that the living entity must do his duty as he is constitutionally made. Without doing so, all living entities must suffer. That is the law of nature. The words Taravo Bhuri Varshmana indicate very luxuriantly grown, big-bodied trees. The purpose of these trees was to produce honey and varieties of fruit. In other words, the forest also has its purpose in supplying honey, fruits, flowers. Unfortunately, in Kali Yuga, due to the absence of yajna, there are many big trees in the forests, but they do not supply sufficient fruits and honey. Thus, everything is dependent on the performance of yajna. The best way to perform yajna in this age is to spread the Sankirtan movement all over the world. Text 9. Sindhavo ratna nikaran girhayanam chaturvidam upayanam upajaru sarveloka sapalaka. King Pṛthu was presented with various gifts from the general populace and predominating deities of all planets. The oceans and seas were full of valuable jewels and pearls, and the hills were full of chemicals and fertilizers. 4 kinds of edibles were produced profusely. Purport. As stated in Ishopanishad, this material creation is supplied with all the potencies for the production of all necessities required by the living entities. Not only human beings, but animals, reptiles, aquatics, and trees. The oceans and seas produce pearls, coral, and valuable jewels so that fortunate law-abiding people can utilize them. Similarly, the hills are full of chemicals so that when rivers flow down from them, the chemicals spread over the fields to fertilize the 4 kinds of foodstuffs. These are technically known as karvya, those edibles which are chewed, leya, which are licked up, kusya, which are swallowed, and peya, which are drunk. Pṛthu Maharaj was greeted by the residents of other planets and their presiding deities. They presented various gifts to the king and acknowledged him as the proper type of king by whose planning and activities everyone throughout the universe could be happy and prosperous. It is clearly indicated in this verse that the oceans and seas are meant for producing jewels, but in Kali Yuga the oceans are mainly being utilized for fishing. Sudras and poor men were allowed to fish, but the higher classes like the Kshatriyas and Vaishyas would gather pearls, jewels, and coral. Although poor men would catch tons of fish, they would not be in equal value to one piece of coral or pearl. In this age, so many factories for the manufacture of fertilizers have been opened, but when the personality of Godhead is pleased by performance of yajna, the hills automatically produce fertilizing chemicals, which help produce edibles in the fields. Everything is dependent on people's acceptance of the Vedic principles of sacrifice. And thus ends our reading for today. We'll continue from text 10 on Monday. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Srila Prabhupada, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Gurudev, Srila Acharya Dev, Srila Shanta Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the worldwide devotees. Sama Bhaktivedanta Vrinda Ki Jai. Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Nrsimhapali Dham Ki Jai, Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ju Ki Jai, Ganga Mai, Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Giri Govardhan Gupta Govardhan Dham Ki Jai, Sham Kund Radha Kund Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Vrinda Devi Ki Jai, Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai, Scientific Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai, Princeton Bhaktivedanta Institute Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Institute Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari 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 Bol. Jai Srimati Uma Devi Dasi Ki Jai.
Jai Gurudev. Sripad Krishna Keshav Prabhu Ji ki jai.
Dhanavad Sri.